Hi, welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, my name is Dan, and today I'm going to be reviewing Birds of Prey. So, Birds of Prey is the new movie starring Harley Quinn, and it starts off, she's broken up with the Joker, and there's kind of a diamond, which is a MacGuffin, and there's multiple people kind of trying to get this diamond, and she's got to evade Ewan McGregor's Black Mask, the villain in the movie. So first of all, Margot Robbie is fantastic in the role of Harley Quinn. She seems even more dialed up than in Suicide Squad. Like, she has more of that like classic New York accent, and she has like a bit of a different look going on, and she just seems more kind of scatterbrained and just all over the place. And she just looks like she's having a ton of fun while she's doing it, so that's really nice to see. And there's also a scene with Margot Robbie where she's cutting her hair to try and like forget about Joker and kind of, you know, move past it and stuff, and, you know, reinvent herself or whatever. And she's crying over the Joker, but yeah, she's trying to like put on a happy face, and it really reminded me of the mirror scene in I, Tonya. It was like that good, the acting was. It was just so like reminiscent of that scene. Of course, the colour correction in these films looks really good and really pops. It's got that kind of Suicide Squad vibe going, where there's a lot of greens and kind of oranges and pinks and purples and stuff. And so the film visually is really pleasing. Like, it's very stylistic, of course. It's not always like what would happen, like I'm sure you've seen in the trailers when she rams the truck into the building, the chemical factory I think it is, and it kind of explodes in loads of different colours, kind of like fireworks, which you could argue that's just how Harley Quinn chooses to see it, or, you know, it doesn't really matter, but it just looks nice and it's really like appealing and fun to look at and stuff like that. It's had a really good soundtrack as well, and shout out to one of the songs in that movie, which was Black Betty, which was the Spider-Bait cover. Not the original Ram Jam one. It was the extended Spider-Bait version, which is a really sick song. The action scenes were well shot as well. Nothing amazing, pretty serviceable stuff, but enjoyable nonetheless. I would say that the last sort of 20 minutes, that action sequence is quite memorable, and they do some really good stuff, like the way it's choreographed and kind of everyone gets their moment to shine, and it's quite inventive and it's well shot and stuff. So I thought the last 20 minutes were really good. But that kind of brings me on to my flaws with the movie, which is that first of all, the Birds of Prey don't actually team up until the third act. You know, with Suicide Squad, they were the Suicide Squad by the end of Act 1, I think. You know, and you look at like the Avengers, they're all there from the start pretty much. But with this, they don't get together until the last 20 minutes, and when they're together, I think that's when the movie's at its best. But the majority of the movie is kind of Harley Quinn and this little girl, and they've got this diamond that they're trying to keep away from Ewan McGregor. So yeah, I would have liked if the Birds of Prey actually, if it had kind of been like a team-up movie from the start, but I kind of get why they didn't do it that way. They wanted to focus on Harley and stuff, and you know, but maybe in a sequel, that would be good to see. But speaking of Ewan McGregor as Black Mask, whenever he's on screen, you can tell he's having fun in the role, and he's quite like flamboyant and over the top, and it's kind of fun to watch. But for the villain of the movie, he didn't feel threatening really to me. He didn't feel like, I didn't get his motivations or anything like that. He wasn't sympathetic, he wasn't particularly memorable, or it just, you know, when you look at recent villains that we've had in comic book movies like Thanos or Joker or even like someone like Mysterio, you have to have now like a much higher standard of villain if they're going to kind of be remembered and, you know, recognized in this genre. And I just was so uninterested in Black Mask. I felt like the villain element didn't really work for me. It was a cartoonish movie and it was a cartoonish performance, so I'm not saying it didn't fit, like it did fit the vibe, but it just, I don't know, I just didn't get his motivations, I just didn't care. And speaking of like the vibe of the movie, yes, it's very fun and it's very colourful and playful and stuff, but it doesn't feel like Gotham, which I'm not going to put that down as a negative, but like it's something to note, you know, because I usually, when I watch a DC film, I like to kind of get the feeling that like Batman's out there doing his thing, you know, and like it takes place in Gotham. And I remember when I watched Joker, I thought that didn't feel like it took place in Gotham. Compared to Joker, this really doesn't feel like it takes place in Gotham. It feels far too happy, nowhere near gothic enough, way too colourful. So yeah, it doesn't really feel like it takes place in that same world, so that's just something to note. The film also does this thing where it will repeat like familiar plot points that we've seen in a bunch of other superhero movies, but it thinks that if it addresses the fact that they're familiar, then that's fine. So like one example would be when Black Mask is like giving his villainous speech, Harley Quinn's like, oh yeah, the part where you say your speech, that's how original is that kind of thing. But I'm like, well, how original is calling out a villain for his speech? Because The Incredibles did that in 2004. Like, I feel like people calling villains out for monologuing is the new villains monologuing. So they kept being like, oh yeah, look, if we address this, it's fine, isn't it? If we're self-aware about it. And I was like, well, no, the problem is still there, and you're not even going about addressing it in an original way. I've seen that done so many times by now. So yeah, it was very familiar feeling, and I feel like it tried to be all like fresh and quite like meta, like Deadpool. And it just didn't work in that same way. One last thing to note as well about this film is it's a female empowerment movie, which obviously I'm all for. How could you not be for that? But what I'll say is nuance is a nice thing, and there is no nuance in this movie. I know it's a comic book movie, it's not like high art or anything like that, but every single male character in this film is either evil or an idiot. Like, it's someone to be laughed at or someone to hate, like every single one. And I felt like a little bit of nuance there, not maybe having it so black and white as girls rule and guys suck, would have been nice, but especially with an R rating as well, because it's not like kids are going to see this and kids kind of see through that black and white filler. Like, this is for adults, it's R rated, which, by the way, I don't think it needed to be R rated because there's only a few fucks and there's one gory part towards the end that I can think of. Didn't feel like a film that needed to be R rated. I think this could have been PG-13 and it would have made a lot more money, so I don't really know why they pushed the hard R rating for this. Didn't feel necessary to me. But yeah, ultimately that's my review of Birds of Prey. I thought it had lots of problems, but it was also lots of fun. It's just one of those kind of middle of the road movies. You'll have fun while you're watching it, but it probably won't stick with you. You probably won't go back to it a bunch. It's not, with all the massive superhero movies that we have now, this isn't going to be one that I return to. There are a bunch that I do go back to, and this isn't going to be one. I don't think I'd probably ever watch this again, but it was fun for one watch, if flawed. I kind of think that Birds of Prey is to Suicide Squad what the Wolverine is to X-Men Origins Wolverine, and that it's kind of like a half sequel, half reboot type thing, which improves upon the first one, but it's still only kind of middle of the road, Other than that last 20 minutes, I can't reiterate enough, that last 20 minutes are awesome. Margot Robbie's really good. The colour correction and everything looks great. There's a couple of standout characters in it as well that are kind of scene stealers, but in general I just felt like a lot of this movie was familiar, and it just, I don't know, it just didn't really bring anything new to the table I hadn't seen. Just before I go, guys, I'm just going to plug real quick some social media links for you to follow. If you want to follow the channel on Twitter, our username is @gold_fried. If you want to follow us on Letterboxd, which we haven't used that Letterboxd account for a little bit because I only use it when Matt's on the channel. That's the thing, actually, we've got quite a lot of new subscribers, so thank you to everyone for joining. But some of you might not know is actually this channel is me and a mate who do it usually, but he can't do it at the moment because he's got a new job and this, that, the other, but he'll be back for a video next week, so we'll be using the Fried Gold Letterboxd account again, so make sure you follow that. That's Fried Gold Media, all one word. And if you want to follow my personal Twitter account, it's @_DanFelix_. Last thing before I go, don't forget to click that notification bell. I know that it's, you hear every content creator say that, but it helps us out and it helps you out, because if you subscribe to the channel, I assume you want to watch the videos, and this will give you an instant notification when we do upload. So yeah, make sure that you hit the notification bell and tell your friends about the channel if you think they'll like it. We're trying to hit 1,000 subs, that's our goal at the minute. We're not too far off that. But yeah, look forward to a review with me and Matt next week. I think we'll be reviewing The Invisible Man, so look forward to that. And thanks as always for watching, guys. I'll see you soon.